Hi everybody and welcome to Push Your Luck Podcast video review. Today we'll be looking at another Essen 2013 release, Bruxelles 1893. This is by game designer, first time game designer, Etienne Esperman, and the distinctive artwork that you can see on the box, right, reminds you of Troyes and Tournai, right? Yes, it is by the same artist, Alexandra Rocher. Now this is a this is a medium to heavyweight Euro game. It is quite thinky, quite brain melty, and it has quite a few mechanisms involved, mostly worker placement, but it has quite a lot of other intricate mechanisms in the game. So I'm going to explain the game, how it plays, show you how the game works, as well as give you my final thoughts. Now please bear in mind that this can be quite a heavy Euro game, so bear with me on the rules explanation, and let's take a look at what the game is. So this is the main game board of Bruxelles 1893, and this is the separate board that we'll be making up. These are the action tiles. There will be 5 of them, so you will randomize them and then form this separate board and you place next to the main player board. So how do you set up the game? First, each player will have their own player board. They have these markers to indicate certain levels of scoring that you have at the end of the game. So one will be placed here, one will be placed on the score track here at a 0, another one will be placed here, and finally the last one will be placed here. Each player will also take 2 workers and place it in a courthouse here. They will also have 5 workers to start with and $5. Now, each player will next get more money depending on the player order they're at. So, for example, if you're a second player, you get $1 extra, third player, you get $2 extra, and so on and so forth. This is a 2 to 5 player game. All right, it takes about 25 minutes per player, which is fairly accurate in my games that I've played so far. What else to set up? These represents the building materials, and they are randomly set up at the beginning of each game. And this is the round order. So the game lasts only 5 rounds, right, which is denoted by these 5 quite nicely printed, right, very nice artwork, round markers. All right. There's no real reason why you need to sort them out according to numbers, but for correctness sake, you can do so. This is put right in the middle, and these are the character cards which you can hire, which will give you certain benefits. You'll put 4 face up, and the rest are face down in the draw stack here. These are column benefits which you can get. I'll explain all of this later. So you put every round, there's always 5 of this face up, and the rest are in a face down deck next to the board. So how do you play the game? Now, the most important thing you need to take note of is your player board, because your player board will have a very helpful sequence of events for each round. So as mentioned, this is a 5-round game, and there will be some endgame scoring, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game will win the game. So how do you play the game? First, each round you go with number A. A means you have to flip this stock market card over and look at it, and determine by the number of players, you will need to determine where to put this sort of like a corner marker. So what do I mean? So let's say this is a 4-player game. So you look at number 4, and you look at 1, 4, 4, 1. This means now you look at this side of the board, right? You can see 1, 4, right? 1, 4, and 4, 1. This means that you need to take note of this point and this point. So the start player will take this and decide where to place it. You'll be placing the yellow dot on the points indicated by the stock market card. So you can place it here or place it here. Okay, what does this mean? This means that where the start player decides to place this, the area encompassed by this particular corner bar thingamajig will be the active play area for this entire round. So if the start player decides to put it there, this 16 areas will be available for play this round. Okay, so if you put it the other way, it will also be 16 areas. Now, I think it scales quite well because if you look at the two players, right, it's like 2, 4, and 4, 2. So it becomes quite small. 2, 4, and 4, 2. So I think it scales quite well. Right now, you can't really see what's the significance of this because there aren't any buildings on the board. Later on, players will be able to add buildings on the board, and you will see how this will come into play because you can use this corner thingamajig to block out other players, make sure that they don't get secondary benefits if players get to the building. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So just to take note that this will denote the active play area for that round. So what's next? Now next will be B1 and B2. So the phase B encompass the majority of the game, as in the most of the actions of the game will come in phase B. So this is the worker placement part of the game. In turn order, players will place workers onto the board, either here, the active area, or these 4 areas here to get that particular action. So what are the actions? So the best way to explain would be through the player A. Okay, so B1 tells you about the action sets on this board here. B2 will tell you about the action sets on this board. So I'll explain them one by one. Now, when you place a worker on this board, you always need to accompany it by at least $1. Okay, which means that if I want to come to do this action here, for example, I will need to put like that. Each area can only have one player's worker, and you cannot add more to it after it's been placed. You can put more than $1. I'll explain the reason for the money later. So when you place your worker there, you get to do this action. So what are the actions? There's 5 available actions on the board. Now, reminder again, you can only place your workers on the active area for that round. So what are the actions on the board? This, right? This will mean that you are able to get 2 cubes, right? The cubes are available here. Okay, when you say get 2 cubes, do not look at the white, which is the wild. Right, you'll be getting either the marine blue, brown, and black. These are building materials which are used to build your buildings later on. So this will give you 2 cubes. Next, this will allow you to build a building. So how do you build a building? Now this is a bit more tricky. All right, so in your player board, if you recall, there's 6 buildings. You have 6 buildings. Okay, so how do you build a building? First, you take a look at your building tile. You see that it has nicely printed out the sequence of events if you decide to build a building. So what do I mean? First, you need to pay the resources. So how do you know what resources? Depends on the level of building you're building, and you need to build from the bottom up. All right, you look at the left-hand side of the particular building level. You see there's 2 cubes, 3 cubes, and 4 cubes. This does not individually this does not mean the individual cubes, right? Does not mean that literally you need 2 cubes. It means you need 2 building materials. This means 3 building materials including 4 building materials. What do I mean? You need to refer to this building material track. So at the beginning, it starts off in this configuration. So the first player to build will need to contend with this configuration. Now this means that you need to pay 1 brown cube and usually something else. If this was here, for example, so you need to pay 1 brown cube and something else. Now, because this is a blank tile, this is a special case, which means that the player now will need to pay 2 brown cubes instead of 1 brown and 1 blank. It means 2 brown cubes to build the first level building. So essentially, the building materials means that you need to have 1 of each pointed by the hands of that the construction material dial. Next one is 1 of each and 1 of something else, 1 of each and 2 of something else. So after you have paid the materials, all right, you check if you use white cubes to represent any of the materials, you do not get a bonus point. However, if you did not use a white cube, you get 5 bonus points. So what do I mean? So for example, if I do not have the brown cubes, but I can use 2 white cubes to represent the 2 brown cubes needed to build my first level building, I'll get no bonus points. However, if I specifically use 2 brown cubes, then I'll get 5 bonus points. Okay, you'll see that the different types of building materials required mostly is a different color cubes as well as $3. The white cube can also be used to represent $3. So after you have finished building, you move the dial. You move one hand of the dial clockwise. So the hands of the dial can never be together. So for the first player who built, this hand will definitely move in this direction. Subsequently, the players can decide to either keep it very close together, or you can continue to move this hand down and represent different materials that the other players will need. Take note that this is to me it's quite interesting because you can see what other players resources they have, because resources are open knowledge, and from there you can decide to sabotage them. Yay, one of my favorite things to do, sabotage other people. So after that, you get to place your building, flip the other side onto any empty space. That means any space on the board that does not have a worker already. Why is this important? Because later on, when other players, let's say I build this building here. Later on, when other players come to your building, you will get a secondary benefit based on what action there is, or what action they selected. I'll explain the secondary benefits later. Okay, so that is the building action. Next, painting. So you can get to draw a painting tile. So there are a whole bunch of paintings. Right, essentially there are 5 different colors. Right, so you can draw. I use a bag so it's easier to draw random. You don't really need a bag anyway. So you will draw one of the random tiles. So what is the painting for? Alright, you will always keep only one painting, even though you may be able to draw more paintings later on. Alright, every time you do this action, but you can only at most keep one painting. Now what are the paintings for? You can sell the paintings. So this is another part of the game that requires this seemingly complex looking market. First, you need to, when you sell a painting, you need to take note of these 2 windows here. If there's blank, you can put any color painting you want. But later on, as the game progresses, there will usually be paintings on the board. Okay, the most important thing is that you cannot sell a painting that's currently the face up on this tile. So which means now I cannot sell a blue or a green painting. Subsequently, I am able to, if I cover this by selling a pink painting, now I can sell a green painting. Okay, but before you, so you need to take note of what painting you can sell. Next, you need to count the number of paintings you currently have in your play area. So for example, if I have, you have 2 paintings in my play area, I can move this marker, which indicates the price and the points I'll get. Okay, 2 spaces. Now you can only move this orthogonally. That means up, down, left, right. All right. So if I move, for example, if I want to sell a yellow, okay, so I can push 1, 2, which means when I sell the yellow now, I'll get 4 money and 4 points. So this is how you can manipulate this market. You can also, since everything is open knowledge, you can also see what paintings other players have, and then also decide what to block out so that to prevent them from selling. So this is another area of where you can sabotage other people. So that's selling paintings. Next, this is the buying a character card. All right. So as previously mentioned in the setup, there's this 4 character cards you can buy. So if you there's also a price below 0, 1, 2, and 3. So as per a lot of other games, if you buy the more expensive ones, you need to pay the money and you can get the card. Now when you get a particular character card, you will immediately get this benefit listed below. So the benefits are all iconograph icons, so you can easily tell what this means. Okay, so for example, this one will give you 5 points. This one will push up 1 on this track, which I'll explain later. This one will push up 1 on that track. Okay, so you get it, you immediately get the benefit. Now you need to decide whether after you get the benefit you want to keep the card or not, because at the end game, look at the cost here. Okay, each of your character cards you must pay this money at the end game. For each character you cannot pay, you will have minus 5 VP, so which is quite a lot of VPs. If you don't want to keep it, you just need to throw it away. You still get to use the benefit. Now if you happen to hire a person that's exactly the same as what you currently have in your play area, you can do that. You can get the benefit, but you cannot keep. That means you can only have one of each different type of character in your play area. This is your starting character you start off with. It'll give you $5 if you happen to activate him, and it costs $1 to pay at the end of the game. Okay, so that is the getting the buying a worker. All right. So if you look at the phase B, it also tells you what is a secondary benefit if your building is there and someone else has activated the building. So I'll explain the secondary benefit. So for example, if you were here, okay, typically you'll get 2 cubes. Now, if you have building here, someone else has come here, I will get 1 cube because he used my building and I'll get a secondary benefit. If you use your own building, you will not get the secondary benefit. Next, if you come to the building action space, you will get 1 point per building you have on the board. Next, this will allow you to draw a black painting. So there are a number of black paintings here. Okay, they are a unique color. So essentially, there's 5 different paintings, color of paintings on the board. So you get 1 black painting. It's quite unique because it is right in the center of this funny painting market thingy, right? Which means that if you take note, right, the black will always be at most $4.04. It can never go past the market boundary. So this will give you a black painting. Next, if you come to the area where you can sell painting, and if someone else go there, you will be able to get a benefit of 1 point per painting you have in your play area. Lastly, getting the character. If you're here, right, if someone else has come to your building, you will get to activate 1 character that is untapped in your play area. So which means that if someone goes there now, I can tap this for $5. Okay, so that's B1. Okay, are you still with me? I hope you're still with me. There's a lot of rules to go through, and we haven't gone through after 1 round and so on and so forth. So there's still quite a fair bit of things to go through. Next, B2. So B2 is this 4 areas here. Now, B1 and B2 are in the phase B, so you can place your worker anywhere you want. If you place your worker here, you don't need to pay money. All right. However, there is an additional cost. So let's say I've placed a worker here. If I want to go there later on, I need to place 2 workers, 3 workers, and so on and so forth. Other players will also need to do the same. However, in a 4 to 5 player game, right, the first 2 workers there will only need to put 1 worker each. They don't need to put additional. Subsequently, the third time someone else want to go to this particular play area, they need to start to add additional workers. So what are these particular areas? This one will give you 3 white cubes. Remember, white are wild building materials, right? This will give you money. So where do you get the money from? You look at the stock market, look at this little symbol here. So this will tell you how much money you get. So for example, if you come to this area now, you get $6. Next, this will allow you to activate any one of the 5 actions that I previously mentioned. Okay, regardless of whether it is in the active area or not, or whether it's covered by someone. So it allows you to activate the area without potentially giving someone else a benefit. Next, you get to activate the characters in your play area if they have not been tapped yet, based on the number you have here. So right, we also have 1, which means that if you come here now, I can activate 1 character in my play area that's not yet tapped. If later on you get a chance to push this up, you can activate more and more characters. So it depends on how far you are on this track. Okay, so that's B1 and B2. So you can also pass if you don't want to. If you don't place any more workers, the first to pass will be able to take this and flip over the other side. Okay. Next, they will get money. All right, depending on how many color types of painting you have. Color types means this one will give me $2. This one will only give me $1. Okay. If you are the first to pass, you also get $1 for being the first to pass. Okay. So after everyone has passed, we go to the next phase. Yay! Right? We will resolve the C phase, right? And then we will collect back our workers and we'll start a new round. So what is the C phase? Now, remember previously in these rows, you have workers with money. So next, you look at each column, right? So this column corresponding to this card, okay? You look at who has the most money. Who has the most money in that column, right?
If one player has the most money, he'll take the card and he'll get to do something with the card. Now, if there's a tie, all right, no one gets to keep the card, but both players will get this benefit. Okay, so again, if you tie, both players will get this benefit. No one keeps the card. If you have the most money, you get to keep the card and you do something else with it later. So we resolve for each of the column that is part of the active region. So that means for this round, we resolve this for. Okay, so what are the next? Each of the cards will have a certain this symbol. This is, I think it's called mannequin piss, mannequin something. Right, the boy that pees in the fountain. So each of the cards will have this. So if you manage to get the card, and if you're the first player to pass, you get 2 of the figures. So C2 means that whoever has the most number of this mannequin piss symbols in their play area for that round, there will be a new start player. If there's a tie, or if there's a tie for start player, then the start player marker will move on from the previous start player to the next one that is tied, that is closest to him in clockwise order. Okay. After that is C3. Now, those who have won a card, you can either use the benefit and throw away the card, or you can tuck the card underneath your player board. So what are these for? These are for endgame bonuses. Now, as you can see from here, next to your player board, there are some endgame bonuses indicated. There's actually 4 that you can score at the end of the game. So the first one is you get 1 point for every 4th worker. That means if you have 5 workers at the end of the game, you get 2 points. You get 1 point for every character that you have. So basically, we all have 1 point at the end of the game at the start. 1 point per painting you have left. 1 point for every $4 you have left. Now, so if you want to keep the card, and you can tuck it now underneath one of these endgame bonuses to add more points. So some cards have maximum 2, some cards have 1, some cards have none. So if there's no endgame bonuses here, you only get to use the power and throw the card away. If you have a endgame point here, you get to either use this benefit and throw away, or keep this, tuck underneath one of them to increase the endgame scoring. So, for example, if I tuck underneath this one, for example, which means now I will get 2 points for every $4 I have at the end of the game. If you happen to win more than 1 card in a particular round, you can not tuck them, both of them, under the same row. You must tuck them in separate rows. Okay, so that is C3. C4, you need to look at the areas. All right, you look at the seals in the active area. Now, if the seal in active area is surrounded by 4 meeples, all right, that means if this seal, there's meeples here, 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 and here, all right, you will score. Whoever has a majority will score points based on their marker here. Okay, so if there's a tie for majority, then both of the type players will get points. So this is more scoring that you have. Next, the last one, C5. Yes, we are nearing to the end of one round. Whoever has the most workers here will need to lose one of the workers into the courthouse here. Again, friendly ties. If you have tied here, both or more players will lose their worker into this courthouse here. So that is one round. Every card remaining here is washed. The first character card in the 0 marker will also be washed, replenished. Whenever you buy a character card, all right, it will always be filled up again. So washed, the 0-1 is washed. This taken away, and the new stock market card will flip over, and then the start player will start from A to C again. Okay, so when the game ends, all right, you do endgame scoring. Okay, so there is another part of the endgame scoring I did not mention. So this part will give you points per building you have on the board. So right at the beginning, we'll have 3. It goes up to 10. So this can be quite good for scoring. Also take note, if you manage to build the last 2 buildings on top of your building pile, you get additional 5 points. Right? So potentially you can get 10 points here by building this last 2 cards. Building tiles, sorry. If you also end the game with the start player marker, you get additional 5 points. So at the end of the game, you need to see all of us need to pay cannot pay, minus 5 points. Start marker, get another 5 points. Do your endgame scoring based on this track and all these particular things here. Any leftover resources, which is any of these 3 cubes, all right, you get 1 point each. And yeah, so then whoever has the most points will win the game.
So that is the game of Bruxelles 1893. As you can see, it is a whole lot of game in one small box. There's so many different mechanisms involved, but they all seem to gel together quite nicely together. They all seem to gel quite nicely together, and I really enjoyed my game of Bruxelles. There's quite a bear to teach. There's so many rules, so many little nitty-gritty details that you need to make sure everyone knows so that they know how to play the game. There are many tracks to victory. You can go by the painting track, you can go by the building track. Indeed, if you go by the building track, which is what seems to be the most obvious to a lot of people right at the beginning of the game, is quite viable because already you have 6 buildings. If you place them all on the board using the right materials, you get 6 times 5 points, which is 30 points. If you build all 6 buildings, you also get additional 10 points because on the topmost 2 buildings will give you 5 points each. So that's 40 points. Then, right at the start, you really get 3 points per building you have on the board. If you do not upgrade that, that's another 18 points. So, by building tracks alone, if you focus on them, you get 58 points already. Typical game scoring points is about 80 to 100 plus. The last time I played another game of it and I got 120. So 58 points is nothing to laugh at. You can go by the painting track, get a lot of paintings, you can score a lot of points. Indeed, one of my other games I did score about 50 or 60 points based on that. So there is many ways to victory. There's a lot of interaction as well, particularly if you're trying to get that card in that column and you're trying to bid, but you're wondering how much other players can bid. And because everything is open knowledge, including the paintings that you have, the money that you have, the workers that you have, the cubes that you have, there's a lot of screwage available. You can decide to twist the building material so that you make sure that your opponents cannot build, adjust the market so that they cannot sell paintings, even place the same color paintings or sell the paintings before them, and then they cannot sell the same color paintings. So there's a lot of game in this box, and I really enjoyed it myself. Do take note that rules explaining and all that, just by listening to how I explain the rules, it feels like one of those Phil Eklund games where there's a lot of rules, right? But the rulebook is quite well done. It's still quite readable and you can understand just by reading the rules itself. So if you like this sort of meaty, heavy rule games, alright, worker placement mostly, and set collection and stuff like that, right, do give Bruxelles a look. I definitely recommend it. It's one of those games that really surprised me from the Essen 2013 release because I did not expect it to be that way. I was expecting something like Trias, but Bruxelles really gave me something much more. Right, so thanks for watching.